You were supposed to be dead, she whispered, staring at me like I was a ghost. I didn't blink. I just stepped forward and said, "You buried the wrong body." 3 weeks ago, I was left for dead in a burning cabin. Today, I'm here to take back everything she stole. My name, my life, my legacy. My name is Elena Brooks, and this isn't just a story. It's a warning. A tale of betrayal so deep it came from the one person I trusted most, my own sister. If you love stories filled with suspense, betrayal, and justice served cold, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Your support helps us bring more true-to-life stories that grip your heart and shake your soul. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a quiet town in Vermont, surrounded by pine trees, snow-covered winters, and a family that looked perfect from the outside. My parents ran a small antique shop, and my older sister Marissa was the golden child. Straight A's, prom queen, Ivy League dreams. Me, I was the quiet one, the artist, the observer. After college, I moved to New York and started a small design studio. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I worked late nights, built a loyal client base, and finally saved enough to buy my first home, a cozy cabin near Lake Placid. It was my escape, my sanctuary. Then came the call. It was a rainy Thursday when Marissa called me after 5 years of silence. Her voice trembled. "I need help," she said. "I messed up." I hadn't spoken to her since our parents' funeral. She'd inherited everything, the house, the shop, even the life insurance. I got a box of old photo albums and a handwritten note. "You'll make your own way." "You always do." Still, she was my sister, so I said yes. She arrived the next morning. Designer coat, flawless makeup, but her eyes were wild. She said she was being blackmailed, that someone had hacked her accounts and threatened to expose her secrets. I didn't ask what secrets. I just offered her my cabin for the weekend. "Stay here," I said. "I'll figure something out." I didn't know I was walking into a trap. The first night was quiet. We drank wine, talked about old times, and she cried. Real tears, I thought. She said she missed me, said she regretted everything. I wanted to believe her. The next morning, I went into town to pick up groceries. When I returned, my laptop was open. The screen was dark, but the power light was on. I hadn't left it that way. I checked the browser history. Cleared. I checked my email. A password reset request had been sent at 10:42 a.m. while I was gone. My stomach dropped. That night, I confronted her. "Did you use my laptop?" She didn't deny it, just shrugged. I needed to check something. I changed all my passwords, enabled two-factor authentication, locked my devices away, but it was too late. The next morning, I got a call from my bank. "Ms. Brooks, we've flagged unusual activity on your account." I checked my balance. 0. My savings, 0. My business account, 0. Over $150,000, gone. Transferred to an offshore account. I stared at Marissa across the breakfast table. She was sipping coffee like nothing had happened. "You stole from me," I said. She didn't flinch, just smiled. "You always had more than me," she said. "It's only fair." I packed my bag, grabbed my phone, called the police. She lunged at me. "You're not calling anyone," she hissed. I ran out the door, into the woods. She chased me, screaming. I reached the road, flagged down a car. The driver, a retired firefighter, saw the panic in my eyes and didn't ask questions. He drove me straight to the sheriff's office. I filed a report, gave them everything, emails, bank statements, security logs. They launched an investigation. But Marissa wasn't done. 2 nights later, the cabin burned down. Arson. The fire marshal said it was deliberate. Accelerants used. Entry forced. Marissa claimed she was out of town. But I knew the truth. She wanted to erase me. Erase the evidence. Erase the debt. She thought I was inside. She thought I was dead. I wasn't dead. I was staying with a friend in Albany, recovering, planning. I hired a private investigator. He traced the offshore account to a shell company, registered under Marissa's name. I gathered everything, built a case. Then I waited. 3 weeks later, I walked into her office. She froze. "You were supposed to be dead," she whispered. I didn't blink. "You buried the wrong body," I said. The police arrived minutes later. She was arrested for fraud, identity theft, and attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming. She cried in court. Said she was mentally unstable. Said she didn't mean it. But the jury didn't buy it. She was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. I rebuilt my business. Recovered most of the stolen funds. Bought a new cabin, this time with security cameras and reinforced locks. But the real healing came from knowing I survived. Knowing I fought back. Knowing I refused to be erased. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not in temperature, but in energy. Marissa sat across from me, her hair pulled back, her designer suit pressed to perfection. But her eyes, those once confident, calculating eyes, were hollow. The prosecution laid out the evidence, forged documents, offshore transfers, surveillance footage, and the arson report. My voice trembled only once, when I described waking up to the smell of smoke, crawling through the cabin's back window, barefoot and bleeding. Marissa didn't look at me once. Her lawyer tried to paint her as mentally unstable, overwhelmed by grief and financial pressure. But the jury saw through it. They saw the pattern, the manipulation, the cold, calculated betrayal. When the verdict was read, guilty on all counts, Marissa finally looked at me. Not with anger, not with regret, but with something worse, indifference. The news spread fast. Local designer survives arson attack by sister. My inbox flooded with messages, some supportive, some cruel. People love a scandal, but they rarely understand the scars it leaves. I took a break from work, spent weeks in therapy, learned to sleep without checking the locks 5 times. Learned to trust again, slowly. My business partner, Jenna, held things together while I healed. She even organized a fundraiser to rebuild the cabin. Clients donated. Neighbors showed up with paintbrushes and lumber. It wasn't just a rebuild, it was a rebirth. 3 months after the trial, I received a letter, handwritten, from prison. It was from Marissa. She wrote 5 pages, apologies, justifications, memories from childhood. She said she hated me for being loved more. Said she envied my peace, my independence. Said she never meant to kill me, just scare me. I didn't respond. Some wounds don't need closure. They need distance. The new cabin was different. Bigger windows, reinforced doors, a studio space for my designs, a garden out back where I planted lavender, Grandma's favorite. I started a new collection, called it Phoenix. Every piece told a story of survival, of fire, of rebirth. The launch went viral. Orders poured in. Interviews followed. But I kept the focus on the message. You can lose everything and still rise. One rainy afternoon, I heard a knock. It was Jenna. Behind her stood a young woman, barely 20, nervous, clutching a folder. "This is Ava," Jenna said. "She's Marissa's daughter." I froze. Marissa had a daughter? Ava stepped forward. "She gave me up for adoption when I was a baby. I found out last year. I wanted to meet you. I invited her in. We talked for hours. She was nothing like Marissa. Kind, curious, honest. Before she left, she said, "I'm sorry for what she did, but I'm glad you survived, because now I get to know you." Years passed. The cabin became a retreat center for women rebuilding their lives. Survivors of abuse, betrayal, loss, they came with stories, left with strength. I never saw Marissa again, but I saw Ava often. She became a designer too. We worked together, laughed together, healed together. One day she asked, "Do you ever wish things had been different?" I thought about it. "No," I said, "because every scar taught me something, and every betrayal made me stronger." If you've ever been betrayed by someone who shares your blood, remember, you are not alone. Drop a comment if you've ever had to choose truth over family. And if you're still gathering the courage to stand up, borrow some of mine. Because family isn't who shares your blood, it's who respects your boundaries.